went to pick up our chicks and things did not go as planned. I don't see anybody lined up, so we'll see how it goes. Things didn't quite go according to plan this morning, but I'm back at the store I was originally at. When I got here, they had not yet received their chicks, so I am back here to pick a few up, and I will show them to you when we bring them home. Hi everyone! So here's a little bit of a story time for you. There's a local feed store to us, and they have multiple locations. And I had a list of breeds that they would be getting in on certain dates. And of course, this list was tentative because the local feed store was receiving these chicks from hatcheries, which a lot of chicks and other birds that people purchase get sent through the mail. And basically, what happened was I was on, again, like, I had a list of specific breeds that I wanted, and I knew that they would be at a specific location. The person who worked there would send out updates, and she would send out an email basically the day before they were supposed to receive their chicks. And, again, I had some breeds in mind that I was interested in getting, and I got an email the night before that the chicks would be there. So what do? I get in my car, early the next morning, which you'll see in the clip, but I, drive out, and this is a little bit out of my way, like 30-minute drive. So I get there when they open, and the parking lot is empty. I see maybe one or two cars. I'm like, okay, they're open, and let's go in. Maybe nobody else really knows or is expecting to go pick up chicks today. So I get in and I immediately ask the person working there, have you received your chicks today? And they said, nope, we don't know when we're going to receive them. And, it might be tomorrow. We have to send somebody to pick them up, but we have not been notified that they are ready. I say, okay, maybe I'll come back. So I get in my car and I decide to drive to the other location, which is actually closer to where I live. And they did have a few breeds that I was interested in, which I'll share more about. And I did end up with some chicks from here. So you'll get to see them and meet them. Essentially, I wasn't as interested in these breeds because they felt a little more specialty and were more expensive as well. I didn't want to spend, $15 to $20 on one chick. So, but I still, I had everything set up. I had my heat plate, everything plugged in, and, had some time off that I was going to, I was planning to get chicks that day. So, needless to say, so I went to the other store, and they had some of their chicks. They didn't have all the breeds that were on their list, which again, I completely understand. I would want the chicks to be healthy and get acclimated before anybody, was to sell them to me or anyone else. So I completely understand, if they weren't all ready. And, the same goes for the other location. I just, again, because they had sent an email the night before saying everything was in order, I assumed they'd be ready. Anyway, I went to the store that was closer to us and I picked up 3 chicks, and super cute. I should preface, so my goal was to end up with 5 or so chickens, and I'll just say by the end of the story, we end up with 7 chicks. So I picked up 2 Bielefelders, I think is how you pronounce it. It's a German breed. To be honest, I have no idea how to pronounce it, but Bielefelder. I'll, include the name here for you. But I picked up 2 of them, 2 brown chicks with stripes on them, and then 1 salmon Favril, which Again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I get my 3 little chicks in their box and I bring them home. So I decided to pick up 3 chicks, and the reason I did that was because the woman who I had been emailing with and said that they would be ready, I asked her, I said, do you know when the other location will be getting their chicks? And she said, let me give them a call. And, you know, she and somebody else at the store helped me out. They called the other location and they said, okay, they will receive them today. You know, it's up in the air as to whether or not they'll be ready for pickup today or tomorrow. So in the back of my mind, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I'll pick up a couple today. Maybe I'll get 2 more either later today or early tomorrow when they open. And I ask, you know, the worker, you know, will this other location let me purchase just 2 chicks? There's typically an order minimum. And, you know, this store, the lady, you know, she was very understanding, very transparent, and said, you know, I won't let you buy just 1. You have to buy 2. They can't be alone, which, again, makes sense. So I asked her, you know, if I go to this other store later to get, you know, some of the breeds I was a little more interested in, would they allow me to just purchase 2 chicks? So I end up with 5, which is my goal. And she says, yes, you know, that shouldn't be a problem at all. You can definitely get just 2 chicks as long as you're getting 2 and not 1. Again, I have my 3 little chicks that I'm going to take home, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get, you know, pick up 2 more of the breeds that I really was more interested in. Again, I'd be happy with whatever chickens I end up with. So I, you know, take them home, get them set up, and I also work full time, so I, you know, try to get them set up and then log on for the day. And, you know, it was a little chaotic just trying to get everything in order and make sure they were okay. And, you know, so I didn't get to film as much as I would like to. Anyway, so bring home the 3 chicks and I wait till around, you know, and this was 9 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. when I had this conversation, you know, and I picked up the original chicks. So I give it until around noon, 1 o'clock, and I called the other location and I asked, you know, are your chicks available for pickup? I heard that you would be getting your shipment today. And they said, yes, they're here. So drive to the store on my lunch break and get there, and they have all of the chicks that I was interested in and more. They had a bunch of them and all super cute. I'll hopefully insert a clip here. I get there and, you know, I'm talking to the store clerk and he's like, are you interested in getting chickens? You know, and I'm kind of just staring at them. And I say, he's like, okay, you know, which ones do you want? And I said, can I get 2? May I have, you know, one of this kind and one of this kind? And he was like, oh, you know what? Let me check because, and I mentioned the location of the other store I was at. He was like, well, we're not like that store. So let me ask my boss if I were allowed to sell them to you. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, were they concerned about mixing them from different stores? I didn't even think about the minimum order rule because, again, the other store had said it would be fine. And I assumed that they communicated with each other. Come to find out, the guy comes back and he says, I'm sorry, I can only sell you 4. We have a minimum order of 4. And again, in my mind, I was just thinking it was because they, you know, they're social animals. They just can't, you can only have 2 of them. And I said, oh, I have, you know, a few others I picked up from this other location earlier today. And he says, oh yeah, that, you know, that doesn't matter. Like, we're a franchise. So our, you know, our store, you have to purchase a minimum of 4. Anyway, so I, you know, am texting my husband. Again, he's also working, and I'm thinking to myself, do I have enough space for, you know, 7 chickens? And also, you know, I've had people recommend getting a few extras in case, you know, one gets sick and dies. You know, that way you have a few extra chicks in case something happens and a few of them get sick, that you don't end up with none at the end of the day. So I'm thinking all these things through and kind of walking down the aisles of the feed store thinking like, okay, if I get 4, do I need to get anything else? Any additional waterers, drinkers, things like that? And I'm also looking for like a few other items, and finally, in hindsight, I probably would have done a lot of things differently, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna get 4. We'll figure it out. Go from there. So I end up picking up 2. They call them blue rock chickens. I believe I don't know if it's the exact same as a barred rock or a Plymouth rock, but I believe it is the Plymouth rock breed, except they're blue, aka like a gray color. Don't ask me why, but I really wanted a gray chicken. I just think they're adorable. And so I pick out 2 blue rocks, that's what they call them, 1 Buff Orpington and 1 Americana, which there are 2 types of Americanas, I believe, and one of them they also call Easter eggers, where they lay like blue or bluish green eggs, which again, I kind of wanted chickens in different colors as well as different colored eggs. So I get 1 Americana as well as the Buff Orpington and the 2 blue rocks. And that's in addition to the 2 Bielefelders and the Faverol that I picked up earlier in the day. I bring them all home, and also the weather was really strange that day. It started snowing out of nowhere, and it was super warm the day before, so it was just a wacky day. But I will show you our chicks here. So here's our 7 new chicks. They are the cutest little fluff balls, and they're a little bit messy, but we love them so much. So just to share who's who, the gray and the black chicks are the blue rocks that I mentioned earlier, and the light yellow chick here in the front, that is the salmon Faverol, and the other light colored chick with the stripe on her back is our Americana. And the 2 brown chicks with the stripes on their backs are the Bielefelders, which I mentioned. And that one is our Buff Orpington, the dark yellow. Thank you so much again for watching, and stay tuned for more chick updates where I share their growth and all the tips that I learn along the way. I hope you enjoy a few minutes watching our chicks.